So, the other day I made a video regarding uh, why men don't share their feelings. And I thought I'd take this time to kind of expand on that a little bit. Now, mind you, this is just my experience. It seems to be that there's a number of men that also kind of feel the same way. A good 90% of the time, it is because those feelings are either him exposing his feelings is either him being seen as weak or just later used against him. And I think there is a biological switch for why that happens. Consider for a moment, ladies, that most everything you want out of a man is essentially the foundational pillar of your relationship. You want him to be a good provider. You want him to be financially stable. You want him to be emotionally stable. You want him to be the guy who fixes it when shit goes south. And you don't really seem to cope well when he starts to express how vulnerable he is. It's like a psychological switch that hits you out of the blue. As soon as he starts to reveal some emotional baggage or basically his emotions in general, you begin to kind of freak out because this pillar in your mind of what you expected him to be is now all of a sudden weakened and tarnished, or it looks like it has a lot of cracks, and the foundation that you have projected on him has faltered and fallen, and you don't know how to cope with that. Now, this does not mean to say that you are a bad person for having this. It just means that it has been a condition for men for eons, ever since humanity has more or less been in existence, from what I can tell. It has been that men deal with their emotions privately. They cope with it in whatever way they need. This is part of the reason why they need their peace. It's just to kind of process through their emotional state and to deal with it. So my suggestion, if you want to encourage him to lean on you a little bit while still keeping that image of a pillar, if you see he's having a hard day, really the best thing that you can do is to give him a hug or to console him by just rubbing his arm or rubbing his shoulder if you see that he's just kind of going through a hard time. You don't have to talk to him. In fact, he probably would prefer that you don't at that point in time, because him trying to externalize his problems while he's in an emotional state is not going to help either of you. But just showing him, consoling him through physical touch, which is what a lot of men respond to, and they respond very well and very positively to it, helps to melt away that stress, that anxiety, and that inner rage from whatever frustrations that he's been dealing with, far better than having him open up and talk to you about what's going on with his day. We communicate differently than you, and we deal with our problems differently than you. That doesn't mean that you're a horrible person for not being able to handle his emotions, and it doesn't necessarily mean that he's emotionally immature. It just means that the way the two of us tend to deal with our emotions is different, if that makes any sense. So, rather than getting him to open up, and I'm not saying that you can't talk about issues that affect the household, like, hey, I'm a little short on money this month, or something like that. I'm just saying, trying to help him open up and be emotionally vulnerable with you is a recipe for a disaster for both of you. The best way to just kind of help him when he's highly stressed is just to give him a hug for a time, or to rub his shoulder, or just to spend time with him in a room. You don't have to talk about anything, just spend time in the vicinity of this fella. Love languages, the whole 9 yards of that book. I think it's called The 5 Languages of Love or whatever it is. That can do a phenomenal job in helping the both of you better understand how both of you communicate with one another, as well as what you're most receptive to when it comes to love. Learn what each other's triggers are when it comes to love and appreciation, and I think the two of you will be able to get through a lot better. Again, this takes commitment, and I'll probably make another video regarding how our spouses can hurt us in a little bit more of a longer format. But needless to say, there's a lot of things that I think people are trying to change, when really we just need to do better at what currently exists, and recognizing where we can best use our talents and tools to help our partner. Yeah.